Views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this episode are that of the guest and host and do not necessarily reflect the values of sponsors or other associated organizations. Welcome to the Parental Compass by Family Education and Support Services. I am your host, Bobby Williams. As always, please subscribe to the show and leave us a review. Spotify lets you do it, Apple lets you do it. It helps us out a lot. If you have listened to the show for a while, you know that a lot of my professional experience comes from my time working with youth in foster care. I would work with youth who had bounced between multiple placements and coordinate a team around them to give them support. One of these young people I worked with was Shanelle Berry. As a young person, Shanelle had some major challenges, some big behavior issues, and has come a long way. My hope is that through hearing Shanelle's story, you can get some ideas about what works for supporting youth in foster care, youth who are in kinship care, youth who have experienced trauma, and get some parenting ideas just in general. Shanelle has an incredible story. I'm very excited for you to hear what she has to say.
So I had entered foster care from adoption. So that in itself is already chaotic. And I had went straight to a group home because it was like pretty late when I had gotten picked up. So they put me in a group home for the night and then ended up placing me in a house. And the immediate goal was to try to figure out a way to get me back to my family, but that just ended up not happening and they didn't want me back. And it was a whole thing. And so it became more chaotic because then now I'm a kid and I know that the family that originally wanted me doesn't want me anymore. And I'm now in foster care.
How old were you at the time?
I was 12.
Okay, so you're 12 years old. You're removed from your original family and then put up for adoption. That didn't pan out. And then you're with a foster home. I mean, so that is a lot to handle, especially for a 12-year-old. So, I mean, what was going on with you, or your emotional state must have been pretty escalated at the time.
I was very escalated all the time.
What did that look like?
Um, I would just do things to get in trouble. Wouldn't listen to anybody. I tested boundaries all the time because I didn't believe that there was always this underlying message of there's nothing you can do that's going to make me not want you. I cannot stress enough how much that message is just, at least for me in my situation, hearing that message I always knew it was going to be at least a year before I was out of there. There's always something that you can do that pushes somebody to the limit. You might not know what that limit is, but there's always something that can happen that can push you to the limit. Just so to say that you are going to have unconditional love for somebody forever, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like the idea of unconditional love is a great thing, but it's just people are human and everyone has a breaking point. And so it sounded almost like, in a way, it was like a way of having power was to figure out that limit. Did you think of it that way at the time, or where was your head at with it?
My head was, yeah, kind of, I guess it was kind of in that space. Like I'm trying to figure out, like, what is that limit? And then you hit that limit and you're like, well, I didn't really want that outcome. I just kind of wanted to see what the limit was. I didn't want
Yeah.
to move. I didn't want to go anywhere. I didn't like these people, but
We both know Scott Hanauer, and he's someone that now works with Family Education and Support Services.
yeah.
And he talks about having a second set of parenting skills. And the idea behind the concept is that parenting techniques that might work for kids who haven't been through trauma are different than what works for young people who have been through a lot of trauma. Something I've seen is like kids who haven't been through trauma, if you sort of escalate on them, a lot of times they'll sort of back down or be like, okay, I know my place. But then young people who have been through trauma, if you sort of get to like puffing your chest out, then that's when they want to take it to like that next level. Or
Yeah, yeah, you definitely, kids with trauma, you cannot, you're like trying to get big with them isn't going to help. Like you definitely have to be like the calm, level-headed person, and you need to be the person to bring them back down, because a lot of times they're already escalated, and it's kind of easy to escalate people who have been through trauma, because like you don't want to go through stuff again, so you always have to make yourself look big. You always have to make sure that you're the bigger presence, it almost feels like. And when you have somebody come in and try to work with you in a situation, and they are calm and collected, and they talk to you in a calm voice, and they meet you at your level, or they realize that you're not screaming at them, you're just mad and escalated, and your emotions are high and your volume is intense, but it's not at them, like it really helps. It helps so much in situations like that to have that calm, level-headed person who's willing to just sit there with you while you go through it, and then talk it out with you, and realize that it's not always on them. It's not that you're yelling at somebody. It's not that you're mad at somebody. You're just mad at the circumstance that you can't change.
it sounds like a big part of what you're saying is like, don't take things personal.
Don't,
Like if a young person's blowing up, it's not necessarily because of you.
yes.
It seems like a big thing that comes up in foster care and just parenting in general is getting into power struggles. Like, if you don't do this, I'm going to do this. And things can just kind of build, and you get into this tension of power struggles. What do you think about all that? Or how have maybe foster parents avoided power struggles with you? Or how have you avoided power struggles?
It's a give and take. So like um they give me a chore, I do it. I get something or I don't. Like I get something out of it or I don't. Like there's like in foster care, for me personally, a lot of things, the things that I liked were, I liked music, I liked being outdoors, and I liked allowance. So if I would do my chores every week, I would get allowance. If I was doing good in school, a lot of times I would get things that had to do with music, like new CDs that I wanted. Because at first, when I was in foster care, I was doing really bad in school, and I didn't want to go, and I was defined on everything. So they had to find ways to kind of get me back on track, and so I get CDs and stuff, and I liked being able to go outside and listen to my music by myself. So I would get an hour by myself. As long as I could show that I was safe in the community, I would get like an hour by myself, 2 hours by myself, 3 hours, which then as you grow up, you get more and more time by yourself, because you're growing into a teenager, or, and you get into different things. So like if I wasn't doing good, sports were a thing. Like I liked sports too. So I didn't get to do wrestling if I didn't do good. And that's also a part of just doing sports. Like if you're not doing good in school, you don't get to do your sport for that week. So it also shows that like obviously that style works.
I like what you're saying too, because it kind of ties into not personalizing things. And then you're saying the consequences are kind of like, okay, this isn't, you can either do this or not, you can either get the reward or not.
Yeah.
It doesn't affect me as the parent, but you as the young person are invested.
Yeah.
So it's a way to have control in a way, but not in like an aggressive confrontational way.
Yeah. And that was perfect for me, because if people would have made things personal on me as a kid, and I've noticed this a lot dealing with kids in my line of work and stuff too. that if you make things too personal, like it's going to get tangled real fast.
Well, it's interesting too, thinking about wrestling and music, and you had like things that you were passionate about. What role do you think that played as far as, growing up, having experienced trauma, just trying to get through life as a teenager? What was the importance of like wrestling or music?
Wrestling and music was my outlet. That was like that was one of the things, because it's like, okay, you can tell a kid who's going through it like, oh, well, you got these things as rewards, that if they don't have something that they're passionate about, like that they can release all of those negative feelings with, then the reward's not going to do anything. No, they're not going to care about that. They need to have something, they need to have their own way to release those feelings. So that was music for me. So a lot of times when I look back on my music, um, I'll realize that I literally would take things that I was going through and just throw it into a song. And that was my way of like talking about it, because I was never like I've never been a very good talker. I get tripped up on my words. I don't know what to say. It comes out wrong a lot of the time. So music was that thing for me where I could just let it all out, and it was gone. So then I would use my music as my outlet, and then I would be able to do all my things, and I could get my rewards. It was nice. And wrestling taught me about discipline and structure.
Explain that some more to me.
So you have to be disciplined in going to practice every single day, and getting up for games and stuff. And you have to be disciplined in the fact of like, you have a coach telling you what to do. I have never liked somebody telling me what to do, not once. And for me to get good at this thing that I like, this person who has all of the knowledge, I have to listen to them because they're going to teach me this. It was not always easy because it's a team sport, and so if one person messes up, like you're only as strong as your weakest link. So you never wanted to be the weakest link, and also it taught you how to like help people by helping your weakest link. And so that was like, you got to be disciplined, and or that was the structure, and the discipline was just teaching about like meal prepping, and teaching um about just being a part of a team. Like it's not an individual thing. It's not all individual, because wrestling, you have your individual side of it, but it is a team sport. So you have to be disciplined in things like, I used to not be able to take losses very well at all. And if you take a loss really bad, you lose team points. So I had to learn how to discipline myself to just walk away.
Mm. It seems like, there's the expectations of society and like social interactions, and it was a way to like build those skills of how do you be supportive to your team members, how do you, yeah, tolerate losing. And so it's a way to kind of practice how you function in the world, because you get these losses in life too,
Hmm.
and you don't want to just like punch a hole in the wall.
Yes.
So we started with talking about, testing the limits, bouncing between foster homes. And then what helped you to start feeling stable at a foster home? Were there like little things that a foster parent could do, or what took you from instability to starting to feel stable?
It was knowing that I was in a safe spot, for one. And that's just something you have to feel out for yourself, because obviously you're in a safe spot, but I don't know.
What do you mean when you say a safe spot? Like what made it safe to you?
Knowing that I could freely express myself without everything turning into a conflict. So The place where I did the best was actually my last foster house that I was ever in. That was the place that I did most of my growth. Like I grew throughout all the other foster houses or whatever, but I got kicked out of all of those. So it was like
Yeah.
I found out what the limit was.
What was different about this home versus the others?
I knew that I wasn't just another kid coming through their house. I really was loved there. And they really wanted to help me. They really wanted to support me in everything that I did. They really wanted to watch me grow and thrive and become the best person that I could. And they listened to me when I would talk about my goals, my aspirations, my dreams. They would really sit and listen to me, and they would help me find little ways to kind of steer me on that path. So if I wanted to do anything with music, they were they were ready to help me do that. I actually, when I said I wanted to go to state for wrestling my senior year, I actually lived 2 blocks from North Thurston High School, and they drove me out to Yelm every day and drove me out on the weekends. So when I had to be there at 5, 4, 3 a.m. for tournaments, because I wanted to go and graduate from Yelm with all of my classmates, and I wanted to have the best coach I had ever had. And so since I wanted that, and they knew that that was my goal, and that was something that was going to help me achieve my dream.